Welcome to Sober Shenanigans. Real talk and real recovery, sharing stories, old and new, trying to stay on the right path and help others just like you. So feel our flow and get on with the show. Here's your hosts, Stoff and Primo.
Don't mind the smell.
Do you want me to be out there drinking and doing cocaine, or do you want me to pull this tugboat?
I'm gonna go run 50 miles. I'll be back later.
Okay, yeah.
My fucking iPad's gonna run out of batteries before.
So my goal long term is to do an Ironman, but like I have a 13-year-old and a 7-year-old, so that doesn't really make for training. I get like 2 hours on a Saturday. My wife's like, "Where the hell are you?"
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
I'm on my way home.
So, dude, I you know what? Like, I've met you.
You saw me when I came in.
I did. So anyway, you want to start us off, Craig, because you were the master of ceremonies.
Yeah.
Boy, they hate you.
Welcome to Sober Shenanigans, which we are back again this week. I am your host, Stoff, and with me, as usual, is my main man, Primo. What's up, Prim?
What's up, baby?
You know what's happening. Today, we've got our main man, Chris, from Philly in the house, knowing what's up. What's going on, Chris?
What's going on, guys? Happy to be here.
Welcome.
Really glad to have you.
Yes.
So, Chris, a lot of our guests like to start off by maybe saying their sober date, or if you'd like to do that, or just maybe give us a synopsis on how long you've been sober and what got you into the program.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, thanks for having me. This is super exciting. My sobriety date is May 7th, 2016.
Nice. Coming up on 10 years. Oh, 9 years.
I just picked up 9. I always say, like, for someone who couldn't go, I mean, literally 9 days from the time I was 16, it's definitely some sort of miracle. I mean, I guess that's really the thing that got me sober was twofold. I mean, I was a regular drinker and drugger for over 2 decades, IV heroin user, the whole shenanigans, as we say, but
Shenanigans.
yeah, shenanigans. I had a partner who was never officially my wife, but basically my wife. We lived in California together and traveled all around. She was a very talented fashion designer. She died of an overdose in April of 2016. And we had been together for 17 years at the time.
Wow.
And at the same time, Chris probably remembers what the carnage was. I had the brilliant idea to inject into my neck, and I missed.
Oh.
And at the same time as my partner's name was Angel, that happened. And so it eventually turned into a necrotic abscess on my neck. And if you look, you can actually see a pretty big spot on my neck. And there's a lot to it, a lot of spiritual God stuff that got me to Tampa and everything. But, just for context, I had a surgeon who came in on his off day. And when I ended up in Tampa, and they rushed me into surgery and cut the infection out. And he came in on his off day. Guy was so cool. He rode a Harley, had a long ponytail, and they saw him, like the nurses, like, what's Dr. Goldberg doing here? Like, this is his off day, Yeah. He rode his bike in, and he grabbed me by the shoulders. I'm laying in a hospital bed, quarantine. You needed to put the full garb just to get in the room. He grabs me. He goes, look me in the eyes. And I'm like, okay. And he was like, I've never seen an infection that bad above the shoulders that anyone lived through. So something is looking out for you. You have a second chance at life. Do not fuck this up. And I reach out to that doctor every year on my sobriety date.
Nice. Yeah. I was going to ask you if there was a specific event or something that happened that got you sober, and that's obviously it.
That'll do it.
That's crazy.
That qualifies as
it. And it was like I sponsor a lot of guys, right? And it's like, if you don't have to go through that level of, whatever, but it was very clear, like, I'm either going to be next or there's going to need to be some change here. And I never tried to get sober before, didn't know anything about, recovery, the rooms, rehab, any of it. But I remember, like, pretty much begging my family for help. And then despite me being estranged from them, they showed up and helped me. And, it was just one of those things where I don't know why, like, I just didn't want to die.
Yeah.
Even though I was trying to,
right,
for so long, it was like, maybe this was the reason that all of the tragedy happened, to share it with somebody else.
Dude, your story is fucking strong because, I don't know, man. I'm a watcher. I come in and I kind of pick up a few guys here and there and just kind of keep my eyeballs on them over the years. I kind of poking. And man, your story was, and I actually have you saved as Chris Nunyana.
Yeah, I'm surprised. We definitely met at the men's meeting first, but
Yeah, but there, for some reason, I think we connected at a nooner and we exchanged information.
probably.
And you know, there's just, but your stories has been one of those ones, man. Like, this is why it's such a blessing to be sober and to get to watch that transformation. You know what I mean? And I know you've experienced it in your life with other guys.
Oh yeah, there's nothing like it.
No, it's the greatest reality show on the planet.
That's right.
Did you have family or friends in Tampa? What brought you guys here?
So, no. So my angel who passed, we lived out in Lake Tahoe together in California for a couple of years. I was just kind of screwing off and cultivating marijuana and living the dream out there, snowboarding every day. But when she passed, we had pretty much been off the grid and estranged from everyone. And we introduced a friend of mine from Washington, D.C., and her friend, who she used to bartend in Philly. When we got back from California, they ended up getting married and moving here.
Oh.
So I was very much like surrendered to like, I'll do whatever you guys ask me to do. I did have one ask, like, just get me out of Philly.
Right.
And I don't know what even it looks like, but I just know, not that I knew, but I had a feeling that it wouldn't go well if I stayed and tried to get sober in Philly. And so the day that Angel passed, I get a message on her phone from our friend Sheila. And I'm like, I see that. And I'm like, oh, she must know. And she didn't know. And so I'm like, hey, and she's like, so I filled her in. And then sort of on the back end, my brother and my sister were helping get a plan. And like I said, I was like, if there's anything that we can do, just get me out of here. Cause I don't know if I could do it here.
Right.
And so that's the very short version of a long story of how I ended up in Tampa. But they were like, just send him and he can sleep on our couch. Like my friend, she's like 20 years sober. And then my friend, Seamus, he's like 10. So it was like one of those things where they were familiar with it.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, just send him here. And then even me getting here with the abscess on my neck, and it was like total chaos. But that's how I ended up in Tampa.
Yeah. You know, we have heard that a couple of times on this podcast, is people changing location to get away from what it is they're getting away from, to start fresh, start anew, because it is starting your whole life over again. And if you really are dedicated to it, I mean, that's the most dedicated thing you could do, would be move locations. You're like, I'm out of Philly. Like, Philly is just bad for me, right? Like, your whole situation was pro getting blasted. So let's just go somewhere fresh. And going somewhere with some sober people is a great idea.
Oh, man, I got lucky. Tampa.
Yeah, Tampa's killing those. It's
300 meetings a day or something like that.
700 or 800 a week.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And Pinellas, it's like 800 a week. I don't know what it is in Tampa, but it's a lot.
Yeah, that's nuts.
And it's funny, I've also seen the other side of it, right? You move and you bring yourself and your problem.
Yeah.
But if you're familiar with, there's a movie called Permanent Midnight. Ben Stiller plays the guy. Remember the show Alf?
Yeah.
That was like a heroin hallucination. That's how that show.
That's how the guy wrote it?
He was a junkie.
Famous writer. Explains a lot.
Yeah. But the beginning of the movie is Ben Stiller narrating, and he's like, I knew I had a problem, and so I figure out, I moved to California, but come to find out, there's drugs in California. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, I did that too when I moved to California. Like, maybe it'll be a little better, but it obviously wasn't. That was 20 years ago, and it took me, another 15 to get sober. But yeah, I mean, I always say to my wife, I'm always, fascinated that you get sober where you used to get high. Like,
yeah,
we drive past, like, oh, that's my old dope dealer's house. I'm like,
but dude, this cat, no treatment, and is living and staying in the same place.
God bless you.
I mean, that to me is, I don't know, man. I had to leave Sanibel because God knows, when you're on an island, that's even worse. I mean, you got swim or float, whatever you got to do. You got to get off that island when it's time to go.
Well, I've got 3 kids here. I mean, I'm here.
Yeah.
Like, I have no choice to go but anywhere but here.
Right.
But I had, I got sober at 54 years old, so I had enough. It was just enough.
Yeah.
I finally had too much of more. And, in my personal situation, my family was leaving me. They sat me down on a morning and said, we're out. My wife said, I'm out. This is enough. I mean, I tried to quit multiple times. Every time I would quit for a little while, like many people do, and it would just come back.
Yeah.
And, when I made amends, to the kids, I had ruined my daughter's 18th birthday party and promised the next morning when I was driving home from the beach with them in my back seat crying that I wouldn't drink anymore.
Yeah.
Right. And it lasted 20 days, maybe 20 days. And then I figure I got it licked. Oh, they're going to forget about it. Blah, 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 blah. No, they don't forget. And I'm still trying to make up, for that a lot. But that's my situation. That's why I stayed here. I didn't get thrown in prison or go to rehab. I mean, I was a criminal back in the day, just really never got caught too much, but I had to stay because my whole life was here, and it's been a better life since. That's for sure.
Sure.
Yeah. Did you have any early struggles when you first got sober? Was there anything that you can think of that, or you just decided, bam, that's it?
I'm the annoying pink cloud.
Me too.
I really am. I had struggles. I had no work history. You know what I mean? I had nowhere to go. I had no driver's license. I had warrants all over Philly.
Yeah.
But I remember when I got to rehab, I didn't eat. Eating was a luxury.
Yeah.
That was just something that I didn't do.
Did you share once that you woke up in a hospital handcuffed to the gurney?
That's happened to me a couple times.
Yeah, that's fucking...
Wow.
But I remember they were like, we're going to give you $70 a week to go grocery shopping. I'm like, hell yes. Friday is great. I was just joking around with a friend who I got
Was that
sober with.
CP?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
When I got sober with last night, I was like, dude, I go to Publix now. The same Publix, ironically enough. I just bought a house where I used to go shopping when I was in rehab. But I'm like, $70 is I got to pick up steaks and baked potatoes for the family. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was so stoked. I don't know. When I was in the halfway house,
$40 when I was going.
there you go.
40
That's right.
to see.
Yeah. When I was in the halfway house, I would wake up every morning and cry for 3 hours. Angel passing. I chain smoked my friend's cigarettes. But there was, I don't know, the hope resonated with me. I don't know why. I've always been hard-headed. I was a really good baseball player, and my coach basically didn't advocate for me when the coaches from the colleges came to recruit me. They said he's unfucking coachable, you don't want him.
Yeah.
But whatever the reason, when all that happened, I heard stories where I'm like, if that guy can do it, why can't I?
Yeah.
Why not? I think I can do this.
Right.
And I never knew. If you told me that my life was going to look like it does now then, I would not have believed you.
Yeah.
Right.
When they say you have to dream new dreams, I would have been setting my bar really low because I couldn't even imagine.
Yeah, it's amazing. There's some people that I've had the blessing to watch that unlock unbelievable potentials. We know a bunch of people that are just shining examples of just how good it can get. And that's really kind of what I love about this is I really want this show to be about great success stories of not just success, but happiness and from one spectrum to this whole other spectrum that, I'm not recognizable. I'm sure you're not recognizable from the man that you were when you came in, not even close.
Definitely not.
And in personality and all these different things. So it's an amazing shape-shifting and transformation, when you get to, I don't know, I've been around long enough to see Martin. I remember when Martin was chubby and rode a moped. You know what I mean?
That's amazing. That's my fun.
Yeah. And he has zero game. So he's fit. He's
Successful.
very successful, handsome,
Family man.
but he's still got no game.
That's right. Well, and I always say too, the people that I really admire the most,
Yeah.
they have all the stuff on the outside, but the outside stuff is a reflection of the inside work that they did. That quote that we were talking about before.
Right.
It's you get all of that stuff, but that's secondary.
Right.
To doing just one of those things. One of my, I like all these, influencers and stuff. And David Goggins, his book was what am I actually capable of? And I was afraid to even think of that.
Yeah.
It was even the baseball thing was
Yeah.
screw it. I'll just party. There's no girl, it was driven by fear. It's because I didn't want to actually pursue what I thought maybe I could be. My old man was a doctor. It was always you're going to take the practice over. And I was screw it. I'm not into science, but I could have been.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But then, like you said, 54, I was 41. when you get sober, it's like, all right, well, now you got to take a real hard look at yourself and be like, that like weak, scared route doesn't work anymore.
No.
You know? And like now it's like, what am I capable of?
Yep.
You know, it's like apparently a lot more than I thought.
I think I heard someone quote the other day that we get obsessed with thinking about the fears that we have instead of the dreams that we have.
Right.
You know, we get into that corroded mindset where all we think about is the downside and the fear. And because we're living the downside, unfortunately, we can't even see an upside until we get the brains clear of the fog.
Sure.
And get into the pink cloud, at least in the beginning. I mean, I was in the pink cloud. I'm still in the pink cloud a lot. I'm grateful, Greg, is what a lot of people call me, because I just love it, man. I love it.
And it's funny you say the fear thing too, is like when you start to look inward and take a good hard look, it's like the fear of success and fear of failure at the same time. That's what paralyzed me. It was like, I'm afraid I'm going to fail, but like, I might be more afraid of what if I actually succeed and what people think I'm capable of. Then how do I manage it? Because I'm a drunk and a junkie. I screw everything up.
Success is fucking scary.
Right.
Failure's comfortable. I mean, to be honest with you,
Exactly.
I'm okay. So I already know what
Beautiful.
I can start over, man. I know exactly how that whole thing rolls.
That's right.
But to be consistent and be on a trajectory upward, and you know, when's it all gonna fall apart, man?
That's right.
You know, and it just keeps getting better and better, man.
It really does.
And it's really just a decision. I mean, stuff is stuff, but I mean, being happy and having that choice is something you have to make every day. You know, like I tell my wife and even my son, like, you know, today is a good day, and if it's not, I start the damn day over.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Start it over. The whole day doesn't have to go that way. A portion of it can be bad, and I can start.
It happens. Yeah. And well, my first sponsor, you know him well. I'd call him every morning. He goes, "The best fucking day of my life." Like, even if it's not,
Well,
right? Yeah. Well, no, it was Mike. Mike took that from Paulie, but
Like, oh yeah, okay, all right.
and it was like, what's this guy so happy about all the time? You know what I mean? And like, he's a business owner.
He's coming in, by the way.
Oh, that's great. He's got a lot at stake. And I'm like, damn, that's a mindset where that's like, you can manifest that it's the best fucking day of your life.
That dude's got no fear. So he's not afraid to say what he's thinking or to do what he wants.
He helped save my life. That dude's my first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have mad respect.
Me too.
Old friend.
Yeah.
You know?
Good guy.
That's what I was going to ask you next is do you have a sponsor story from when you first came in? Can you remember something that maybe he challenged you or?
Yeah, it was, you know, the first thing, yeah, with the sponsor, that's good.
Yeah.
The first thing that he ever had me do, which is not, you know, 12 step, I don't like to talk about, you know, the traditions, but is define the word accountability.
Ooh.
Yeah. He's like, because you don't have any idea how to be responsible or accountable. So try to be accountable to me. Call me when you say you're going to call me. I'm busy. I got all this. It's funny. Dennis has a story. I used to call every morning, maybe doing their morning meeting. Be like, he's calling me again. I was being accountable.
Right.
But the real story, the story that like I forever, well, I mean, as long as I live, this was one of the more pivotal moments in my life. And it was the first spiritual experience I had in the rooms. I did a fifth step with him, my first one. And I went to rehab. So I kind of had hashed it all out. And my partner, Angel, and I had like a sugar daddy guy. It was like my life was a shit show. But so we're driving at first and we're in his truck and then we park on the causeway and we get out of the car. And so I'm like just about wrapped up and it was like super emotional, like just getting all that out, you know?
Yeah.
And so he talks like this, all right, big guy, barrel chested, and he puts his arm around me he's like, is there anything else? And I'm like, no, I think that's it. And he puts his arm around me and he's like, the immature, irresponsible, lying loser that walked onto this beach does not have to walk off of it. Ooh. You get to decide the man that you want to be for the rest of your life. Right?
Wow.
And I'm like, oh, damn. Like I'm tearing up right now.
Like you can remember it like it was yesterday.
Oh my God. I can smell it. I can see where we were, you know what I mean?
This is Mike. Yeah. Oh shit.
And I mean those words were like, I was like, Jesus. And that's that same question. Like, who am I? Like, am I the doctor's son? Like I didn't even know who I was.
Yeah.
And that's the journey of recovery, is unpacking it and learning it,
Yeah.
But
Wow,
that
great
was
story.
Like, that one, like, I go back to where we went to treatment and I tell that story. I mean, every time it's like that like changed my life. It really did.
Yeah. Wow, that's awesome. And so you met Primo at a meeting in Tampa 8 years ago or so?
Yeah, like 8.5. They used to bring us to the men's meeting.
The druggy buggy.
The druggy buggy, yeah, that's right. And
With a $70 worth of fucking candy in his pocket.
I had a bandage totally. My whole right side of my neck was split open, shell shocked. I mean, I was coming off of everything known to man. And we met there, and I just remember he's always got, his story is just, it always ends with hope.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, which has always impacted me. But yeah, we met there, but then I was obviously unemployed. So I was doing a lot of noon meetings at the time. That's right. And that's where I think we started to become a little friendly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also your connection to both your guys, Martin and
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. Martin was a little later, but yeah, Mike. And you would go to Ivarone's.
Oh yeah.
We would go to dinner after the men's meeting.
20 of us go to Ivarone's. It's like the gangster hangout.
Oh, I know it very well. That's got to be a $2,500 bill with 20 of you back then. Well, maybe not back then.
Well, we didn't drink though either.
Oh, it's true. No wine, no alcohol.
Yeah, we were just banging some steaks and hanging, and they would have this big room for us. They knew we were coming. They expected us, and it was cool. It was good times, man. Good.
It was,
times.
really.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
And a lot of good networking in that group. And
Badasses.
yeah, a lot of rock stars. Paulie was Paulie, and
Well, it was
I
probably
mean,
Mike B. There was like Jerry.
oh yeah,
That was like a crew. That
Yeah.
was like every week. And I remember, like, I was like, the price point was beyond my budget at the time. You know what I mean? Mike's like, I'll buy your first steak. The rest you got to pay for yourself. But I would go and buy like a salad. I couldn't even afford it.
Yeah.
It was like, there's something special. There's actually, the story about the waitress there who got sober. You know that story?
no,
So there's a girl who's just picked up 8, I think, from the rooms, and she was a drunk and a cokehead and got in trouble at work at Ivarone's. And the one other waitress who always waited on us was like, those guys in that room are all sober. Like, you should probably talk to them. So she ended up reaching out to Mike B, who his wife they connected, and she started sponsoring her, and she's sober since.
sweet.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sober through affiliation. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
That's right. That's right.
Through
That's like God stuff right there. Like, what's the chances of the one restaurant in Tampa where 20 sober guys are going every Fridays where you work?
I had to get a pinky ring so I could fit in over there.
Diving on their rings. It's so funny. Oh man, it's like a Philly restaurant.
That's cool. Very, very high end experience.
Yeah.
Those are the things, like I see us, we go to the 7 a.m. meeting. We had a tradition meeting at 7 a.m., okay?
We did this morning.
I know. So look, if you go to one,
He complains about it all.
We're on the podcast talking about AA.
And that's the tradition we were on today.
at the level of a press radio and Phillips. Yeah, oops. So
We made a disclaimer on show number 1 that whatever it takes for you to get sober is what it takes.
I don't care.
Whether we talk about it or not, we're not
Right.
worried about that. We're not.
Just get sober.
Just get sober. Exactly.
well, we don't represent anybody but ourselves.
Right.
Let's be clear.
Right. We'll talk about.
And don't try this at home, kids. But if you need help, there is help.
That's right. There is.
We can help you get there, but we're not it.
Yeah, Rick.
Okay. We're not the
bigger
example.
than
We're
you.
not trying to set that example.
Right.
So Chris, since you got sober, obviously you were broke and single, unfortunately, after the incident and what happened. And so since then, how has your life gotten better?
I mean, like I said, you can't even almost explain it. I was a marijuana cultivator illegally. I never really worked, like ever. That's why part of the reason why I went to California. I've been employed since I got sober, been promoted at every company that I've worked for. I work for like this crazy $1 billion tech firm doing sales. I'm married. I'm a stepdad. I'm a dad. I'm actually, this is also a disclaimer. Do not do what I do. I did meet my wife in rehab, ironically enough, and against all suggestions to the contrary, we've stuck it out since then. That's another great.
Was it goat yoga by chance?
It was not.
Oh, okay.
It was just rehab.
Just regular rehab. Not Dennis's goat yoga rehab.
So my wife now was living in a halfway house and we got pregnant during Hurricane Irma.
Oh,
We evacuated.
well, what are you going to do? Right? You can't go anywhere.
We evacuated to Asheville, North Carolina. I was like, I can't get pregnant. I was like, okay. And so this is another good Mike story. Excuse me. And so I find out and I'm like, he's going to kill me. Like, this is bad. So I call him. I'm like, I've really got to talk to you. It was a Friday. He's like, I had talk. I'm like, no. Like, I need to see you in person and talk to you. So I pull up to the meeting we were talking about, get in his truck. He's like, did you drink? And I'm like, nope. He's like, did you get high? I'm like, nope. He's like, okay. I was worried. I was like, it's worse. He's like, what's worse than that? I was like, I got Allie pregnant. And he stops and he turns and he puts his arm around me. He goes, you're going to make an amazing father.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's not what I was expecting to hear. But yeah, I mean, it's like, I couldn't even qualify how, how much better it's gotten. Yeah. We were talking before. I was in Chicago this week for a race and, I've traveled all over. I was talking shit to Chris about the Commanders beating the Lions, but I got to watch the Eagles win the NFC Championship on a cruise ship for my 50th birthday. Like, there's things that I have the moments, like you said, Greg, right? Like, it's like, this is not how this supposed to be, right? My story was supposed to be worse.
Right.
It was supposed to be tragic. And that's why, like, the gratitude is always such a part of it.
Yeah. It's like we find out that getting sober is actually the fun part.
Right.
It's like for years we thought the sober people were the nerds or whatever.
Yeah.
We're like, you don't drink or whatever, get out of here. Well, they're the ones that are having all the fun.
Absolutely.
They get to keep their money. They get to keep their health.
Yeah.
They probably don't piss everyone off on a daily.
Likely.
And they get to have fun and do whatever they want to do. I mean, it's total freedom, which is what we're supposed to have.
That's right.
But when we're in that addiction mode, we don't have any thoughts like that. We just think we're trapped. I thought I was trapped. That was going to be my life. I was going to plan every day around my blackout.
Right.
And when I got sober, I realized I didn't have to do that. It was unbelievably freeing.
Absolutely.
And
even that is like the lie that you tell yourself is like, it's fun.
Yeah.
It hadn't been fun for 50 years.
No.
Sticking a needle in your arm 5 times a day, like, that's not fun. Like, there was no fun left. But then there was, like, it was just like, at that point, I was like, I just don't see a way out.
Yeah.
And I mean, thank God. I had this other thing where if you're familiar with Philly, like, there's a section of it called Kensington, which is like an open air drug market. It's like as bad as it gets in the country. And that's where I was at the end. Like, we had a place to stay, but I would go there and get my drugs and everything. But I remember, like, these moments of clarity. It's an elevated train line, right? So you take the L to get down there, get your drugs, get back on, whatever. But I used to walk sometimes, and there was this group of guys out front of, like, it was, it's like a row of stores, and they all, like, were clean, right? They were not the junkies that I was running around with. They were smoking cigarettes, they were laughing, and they were always there at the same time. I'm like, what? They shouldn't be here, right? It's right across from a food bank. I went back after I got sober and drove through that area. Come to find out, it's an AA clubhouse.
Yeah.
And I'm like, those guys are sitting here looking at these junky losers. They're going to work. You know what I mean? Their wife, like you said, probably wants them around. And I was like, I just had no idea. I had no idea that any of this was possible.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's a great thing. And Philly, what a tough place, man. I used to visit Philly. One of my best friends played basketball for the Sixers, and we used to go up there and visit him. And it was a tough town, man. I'll never forget. We went to go get Philly cheesesteaks because I was in town, and I was like, he goes, what do you want to do? I go, man, I've never been to Philly. We got to get a Philly cheesesteak. Of course. And we walk into the place, and the guys making the cheesesteak start booing my buddy. He's on the team. They start booing him. You suck. You suck. I'm like, where are we? But he goes, don't let it bother you. I'm used to it by now. You know, he'd been there a week. He goes, he's sure by now. He goes, this is just how it happens. I'm like, this town is tough.
It's funny.
And man, I'll never forget. We met this guy, Little Johnny. He was
Sounds right.
Well, he was the New Jersey mob boss's son who had front row seats to the Sixers game, and he was a fan of my buddy. My buddy was one of the only white guys on the team. Skinny Joey.
He's still around. He was one of my dad's patients.
He was wearing leather head to toe, yellow.
Nice.
Like you could see him everywhere in the stadium. And so after the game, we go back to Skinny Joey's place, which is a beautiful townhomes, Bryn Mawr area type dealio. And me and two of my other buddies with our buddy who played. My buddy who plays, he leaves. He finds a girl, leaves. One of Skinny Joey's guys comes in the room. We're sitting and watching TV. He goes, what are you guys doing here? We go, oh, we're with, the big guy. He left. Oh, so we should go?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and our ex, he's like,
our cue.
yeah, he's like, yeah, you should go. So they put us out in the middle of the street, in the middle of nowhere. We didn't know where we were.
Wow.
We caught a cab. The cab driver didn't speak any English. Somehow we got back to the house, and then we get back to the house, and right then my buddy pulls in, and he's go, where you guys been? Where did you go? You left us at Skinny Joey's, and they kicked us to the curb. Oh man, I don't miss visiting Philly.
If you stay in the right neighborhoods, it's fine. Where I was is terrible. They have it like properly gentrified, I guess.
We had a layover not too long ago, and the airport was like 6 hours. And I'm like,
Oof.
I said, let's get in a cab or get an Uber, and went to Little Italy and had some food.
Yeah, like 9th Street.
Oh man, it was like, I just love the culture. Like everything's the family, the people. I mean, yeah, they're all, pretty nasty.
Maniacs.
Yeah, they're just, everybody's got some sort of problem, but the food, man, was like, they demand that they do it right.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Or they're not going to, or the place is empty. You know what I mean? So, and I wanted to get a cheesesteak. I wanted to get this. I wanted to get that. Like, I'm such a tourist for food, but Philly to me, man, is, I really enjoy the neighborhoods and the attitude.
Yeah.
There's something about it.
Yeah, it was, the oldest Italian restaurant in the country is there. It's a place called Ralph's. They've been there for like 150 years. But I mean, where I grew up, like I said, my old man was a doctor, but the only other people that had actual money were affiliates.
Yeah.
So I grew up with these guys. Like I was like this little blonde hair, blue-eyed kid, and I was like scared shitless. Like I was not built for that life. But I mean, like the one guy, my one neighbor, his dad was in jail, and he chartered a helicopter and tried to land a thing in the yard to break his dad out of jail. It was like right across the street from me. Like, did you hear what Stevie did? I'm like, oh my God. They got us out of there when I was like 10. I'm like, they moved us to New Jersey where it's like upper middle class. My mom was like, we gotta get these kids out of here. But they're all gonna be the next ones.
That's a good thing they didn't come to Sanibel Island when I started the mafia over there in Sanibel.
Yeah, the tough area of South Florida.
Mean streets. My grandmother used to go there every year. Say hi.
Oh, it's tough.
Yeah.
I used to run the shell trade over there.
Black market shells.
Yeah.
You'd flip them over and play 3-card money with the cell. So
I was that guy.
find your quarter. Where's it at? Where's it at?
There wasn't any crime on the island until we moved there. That's why,
How'd you get your drugs? Just leave.
There's a lot of resources on islands.
That's great. We'll find it one way or another.
You know how far we are away from Miami, right?
No, Sanibel?
Yeah. It's a couple hours.
Oh yeah.
2 hours.
Yeah.
No, it's anywhere anyway.
Yeah, but we're in the shipping lane, okay? You guys up in Philly are wondering when the shit's coming in.
Yeah, it's going through your
We're greeting them, okay? It's a little bit
Take
different.
a little
Yeah.
We'll keep this part for us.
Exactly. We're catching the square grouper coming up out of the ocean.
All of that stuff was just floating up.
Floating up.
And I saw that picture of you the other day that you posted with that.
Oh, in Boca?
Dude.
Bagel Land? With the
It
mullet?
was like straight out of Scarface.
At least he had a shirt on.
Dude, there was a mullet
He posts pictures with his shirt off.
Not.
He's all fit now.
Whatever. I'm old.
Good for you.
No. We're gonna talk about fitness here in a second.
We are.
But no, that picture is
It's so funny.
I was slicing Novian lox at the Bagel Land Deli in Boca Raton. I'm in front of the Bagel Land. I'm in between third and fourth rehab at this point. And that's
What was your total number? 7?
yeah, for 7, yeah.
So,
I think, yeah, something like that. I don't remember. I think. I know I got kicked out of 6.
hell yeah.
I'm surprised you remembered 1 through 3.
I know.
It's all a blur, man. It's like a weird 9mm movie that's in my brain that it's just a flashback.
I get like some flashes of my like active addiction days.
Yes.
And it's like really like I don't regret the past, all that.
Right.
But sometimes like my stomach just drops. I'm like, oh man, I really did that. Yeah. But if it's all a blur, but then like a moment of I'm like, oh damn, I did that too.
So how old are you when you started? That's an interesting. Well, what age?
Well, I always tell the story that my old man, so it was my family life was crazy. So my dad was married and then my parents had an affair. And so my mom got pregnant and ended up carrying a baby to term before I was even born. And I didn't know about this until my mother died. So there was like this mystery sister out there.
Who showed up at her funeral?
No, we found paperwork.
Oh, wow.
So this was like a very chaotic, relationship. So they eventually reconcile. But so part of that, when my dad would leave our house in South Philly and where his office was where he raised his other kids and his ex-wife was there. All they would do is fight. He would scream and yell, but he would come home and he'd have a jigger of martinis. And he used to let me eat the olives. And they were gin soaked.
Yeah.
And you talk about the ease and comfort. I remember he'd scream and yell. He'd call the bookie. He'd throw something. I usually got most of it. And then like everything calmed down. And I was like, that's that moment, right?
Yeah.
But I remember, excuse me, I would steal their drinks. But I remember the first like real time, it was like a script out of a movie. Like it was fall. It's New Jersey. My friend's mom went away. It was out of town, so we stayed at his house. Like my high school rival played their rival football team. We drank, we went to the game. The girl that I liked was there. The air was crisp. Like it's like out of a movie, the way that I remember it. I kissed the girl that I liked.
Oh.
The team won. We got away with it,
You get the slow clap too.
Yeah. It was like everything was perfect, and I chased that for so long. And I think like that's my first like real like concerted effort to go drink. I didn't puke. I didn't black out. I'm like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
This is great.
Should have played the lottery.
That's right. I chased it for another.
I was going to say you spend the rest of the days chasing that
100%.
one. Yeah. What a great. Most of the stories we hear of the first time are not that good.
Oh yeah.
I Ralphed. Oh,
But it was probably great.
Too. Yeah.
You loved it.
Oh yeah.
Before the route. I was before the route.
I liked it for 35 pretty good years. Not pretty good. 35 years, pretty much 40 years, something like that. A lot of years.
So let's talk about, okay, so you're in recovery. You've got this thing on your neck, this goiter, this abs. Yeah, this extra guy on your neck coming around. And then you get into this health kick. Your little station of dudes in the meeting it's like Venice, Muscle Beach in Venice. Okay. There's like, okay, we're not going to have anybody tested here, but it,
Let her all pass.
I believe it. No, it looks natural and it looks very, there's a certain motivation and I admire it because I see you guys definitely getting your health on. And
Well, yeah, I was telling Greg before, or we were talking about it before, I should say. I was a baseball player. I was skinny and small, and they used to always tell me, get in the gym, you got to work out. And I hated it. But I was a skateboarder. I was a snowboarder in Lake Tahoe. Like, I like physical, like I like to move my body.
Right.
But so.
Working out and lifting was boring.
Right.
Yeah.
The bug never caught for whatever reason. Running, no thanks.
Yeah.
But I got sober. I finally got a car. I was like maybe 2 years sober or something. And a sponsee asked me to put a penny down at the gym, Channel Side Crunch. It's like, dude, I don't have a bank account. I really want to join the gym. Can you help me out? I'm like, yeah, whatever, service work, right? So I go to the guy at the desk. I'm like, you're not going to bill me for everything because we'll just switch this over. Oh, yeah, it's fine. He's I'm in sales now. He's just trying to hit a quota probably. And like 3 weeks later, and I'm broke at the time. I get all the bill. I get the annual, I get the first month, the last month. And I'm like, no way. So now I've got this gym membership. And it's like, what am I going to do? Like, I might as well just go.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, it just caught. Like, I don't know why. Again, it was just like the sobriety thing. Like, I was like, oh, I like this.
But did you get into like different variations, like CrossFit? And,
But that came later, right? So I was lifting. I started working out with a trainer, and I'm like, dude, I'm like hitting. It was from the morning. I'm going,
Yeah.
And we would work out with a bunch of guys. I'm like, can't we do some like high intensity stuff? Like just the weights, it's kind of boring. And I would be doing jumping jacks in between sets. They're like, can you calm down? And so my friend Zach, who you're referring to, he's a coach at one of the local gyms, and they do like this high intensity interval training stuff. And I started going there and loved it. And then COVID hit. And I was like, I was pretty consistent for a couple years at that point. And then a friend of mine who we'll get to, but he's my partner in these races that I run that we ran this weekend. And he started getting equipment in a home gym. So he's got like 30 grand in a home gym.
Wow.
I mean, it's so sick. But we would go there on Saturdays and do this, like just variations of running and functional fitness. And that led me to this thing called High Rocks, which is a racing event, which is like the new big thing where you run 1,000 meters and then you do a sled push, 1,000 meters sled pull. So you just, it's broken up by running. But I mean, that was sort of the arc of it. And it was another thing where I'm like, I mean, it feels a little braggy, but we qualified for the World Championships in Chicago last year.
Nice.
And we got our asses kicked.
Was it age division or?
We got our asses kicked in the H division. I mean, there's some bad 50-year-olds in there.
That's crazy though.
Yeah, it was cool. But, it was like one of those things where that's the Goggins quote. Like, what am I capable of? And we were talking about getting a quote. Like a lot of these guys that I admire that are sober. There's a guy named Rich Roll we'll talk about. John Joseph is another one who's an Ironman punk rock guy, grew up in New York. Like they're like, it's just like, I was so lazy. Like I did nothing. Like when people worked and, I mean, you had a life, you had a wife and kids.
Right.
Like I spent 5 years in a bed. And like, I don't say that to make it sound cool. Like that was literally what I did. We would leave twice a week to go get drugs. The money would come in, we'd go get drugs. I'd get high for 3 days. We'd scramble, sell some stuff. It would happen again. And it was like my mother-in-law's like, I can't even imagine that was who you were.
Dude, I totally remember when you were.
Was this in Tahoe or was this here?
This was Philly.
Oh, in Philly. Gotcha.
Yeah. So Tahoe was still exercising.
Okay.
But when the opiates came in hard and when I got strung out on heroin was when it was like, but then I came here, I was 130.
I remember.
And then we were 245. I got fat real quick. I'm like,
Oh, that's some weight gain.
yeah. I mean, I was like eating Wendy's at 11 o'clock, sneaking out of the halfway house. We had 4x4 meals. And then I was like, it did kind of happen coincidentally. I always joke with my wife. I'm like, I can't believe you loved me when you did.
Yeah.
I was fat. I had no job, no car. Was a total loser. But yeah, the fitness thing is like, it's a really, really important part of my recovery. It really, really is. Because I am not great at meditating. I can sit and I can take a couple minutes of mindful breaths and I'm good. But when I'm working out,
That's action.
I'm praying,
Yeah.
I'm feeling connected. Like it's really where I maintain that conscious contact.
You found religion.
Nice.
It's seriously.
Yeah.
It sounds like you found it.
Spiritual practice.
Yeah.
For me.
Well, whatever. Sometimes you have to engage one part of your brain to let the other part think.
Yep.
And when you're lifting, you're running, you're working out, you're engaging one part of your brain almost on autopilot, which lets the other part of your brain think and do the meditation and be thoughtful and mindful and realize how great your life is.
Absolutely. If you think about a yoga class, right? The end of the class, you do a 50 minutes worth of movement to get to the next.
To get to,
Yeah, I can't do this.
So he was, now Greg was an All-American basketball player.
Yeah.
I don't have any superpowers. Maybe yes. I could have won the nose. If there was like a contest for the nose, I could have won that. But that's about it.
Where'd you play ball?
Well, I played at UNC Greensboro, UNCG. I drank myself there. I should have went. I was supposed to go to Seton Hall.
Oh, wow. My
But
friend Ryan from home would love to hear that. He loves the Pirates.
yeah. PJ Calissimo was the coach, and when I told him I wasn't coming, he was like, "What? What do you mean?" And
I was like set up.
yeah, he was. It was set up. I was supposed to go, and there was a girl involved, and my folks had just broken up. So I'm in charge of my own future at this point at 17 years old. And
Oh, man.
one of them I would have hoped would have stepped in and said, get your ass to Seton Hall.
Right, yeah.
So I stayed in town. I went to junior college. I had shitty grades. I didn't go to class, whatever. So I did play at UNCG, which was great. But unfortunately, I did drink before games, which I've spoken about before, which is tough. The worst thing that ever happened was we played in the midnight game, the blue gold game, the Midnight Madness. The whole school's there. And I had been drinking prior to the game. And I scored 30 in the game.
Oh, my God.
So then I convinced myself, well, I can drink and ball out.
No problem.
So I did drink, but I just didn't ball out a whole lot. And then, I mean, I was a one-off. It was a one-off. And so, you know, I had a pretty good career, and I still play to this day, but there's a lot that I don't remember from back then. And I do, you know, my teammates like to remind me of the time that we went to an away game and the opposing baseball team was chanting drunk
my
every
God.
time I got the ball, because obviously their team played against us 2 weeks earlier, and somebody said, hey, this guy 25 is drunk.
Oh, my God.
So I go to the away game and they're chanting drunk in the crowd, and I try to make a move on the guy, and he goes, you can't make that move. You're drunk. And I hit him. I punch him.
Oh.
So they kicked me out of that game. And so it was the unceremonious college career. But, you know, I made it I was one of the last guys cut from the Charlotte Hornets that year.
Oh.
And but then I bailed on it because I signed a record deal. So I was like, well, shit, I don't got to stay in shape to rap. So I signed a record deal with Capitol Records and toured as a rapper for 7 years.
Oh,
And I didn't have to stay sober for that.
No, it's better if you didn't.
And so I messed all that up because of alcohol and drugs. And that was just the 90s. Yeah.
Just listening to Drink Champs. Or listen to Drink Talk.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was just listening to RZA on there today.
I love the RZA.
Yeah.
I love the RZA. I love Ghost.
Yeah.
Ghostface is my favorite.
That's so funny. It's quite a story you got.
Yeah, no, it was a lot. I mean, I blew through a lot of opportunities. I was the king of self-sabotage. You know, if I had something big coming up, I would be sure to get wasted the night before. And I don't know if it was anxiety or what. I wasn't great at playing ball in front of a bunch of people sober. And I definitely could not get on stage sober. No, 2 quarts of Colt 45 and 2 blunts. Had to have it.
There you go.
I had to have
Colt
it.
45 in the brown bag, baby.
Yeah. And then I would turn into Big Reef, which was my moniker back in those days.
I have a friend who I got sober with who was one of the top ranked tennis players in the world when he was younger. And he went to a tournament in Paris. And it was one of those things like out of a movie, like, what do you want? He's like, well, I want cocaine and hookers. And I was like, okay. And he'd coke all night, and he won the tournament. Same thing. He's like, oh, I can do this every day.
Yeah.
I mean, and it took him a long time for his downfall, but I mean, if you score 30.
Well, the other thing is, you remind me of another thing that I wish never had happened. But so there's a guy now who's semi-famous, or he's famous. His name is Stephen A. Smith. He's on ESPN, right? Okay. He played at Winston-Salem State for Big House Gaines, famous coach. I played against Stephen A. Smith, and it was the Thanksgiving tournament, and we stayed up all night. Not me and Stephen A. Stayed up all night, blowing rails, boom, boom, boom. I'm MVP of the whole tournament. He put a triple-double on Stephen A. He couldn't do shit with me. And so I didn't learn any lessons.
Oh, right.
You know what I mean? It was, my energy was, I just talked to one of my teammates the other day about that week. He doesn't remember that weekend, that tournament. I go, I stayed with you. He goes, what do you mean you stayed with me?
Partying too.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, he was the supplier.
Oh, that's
Unfortunately, his best friend who cut everybody's hair was the supplier. So, it was, I should have had more parental supervision, I guess. but I kept somehow I would succeed. Sort of, like I said, some game I succeed, the other game I punch a guy and I'm out with 4 points and they chant drunk. Actually, the funniest part of that whole game is right before halftime, right before I punched the guy, one of the baseball players at a quiet point in the gym, he yells, "Hey, 25, we're smoking a joint at halftime. Want to come?"
Oh,
Right?
Like, yep.
Actually, I do.
Kind of do.
But this is an away game and I don't know you and I couldn't get to my booze before the game. So, you know, I'm playing mediocre, I guess.
But even you saying like parental, like you couldn't tell me anything.
No.
Like you're throwing it all away. I'm like, fuck you. I don't care.
Exactly. I'm the one who got it. Let me throw it away. For what? What an insane way to think.
So crazy, right?
Oh, gosh.
You know, when people talk about crazy things that people do to get high, like they sold their baby or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't really, I don't know that I could do that, but I understand it. You know what I mean? I understand the energy. Like if I want to get loaded,
Nothing's stopping me.
it's happening. I literally broke into a restaurant at 2 a.m. because the beer store closed. And we rifled and I fired up the grills. Okay, this is on Sanibel Island, all right? We fired up the grills.
Fun.
Oh, it was awesome. This is what got me kicked off the island. And so we fire up the grills, making some burgers, some bacon cheeseburgers on the grill. And we steal all their alcohol that we can carry. And we just go back and like, it's no big deal, right? And then the cops follow our footprints of the restaurant in the sand to our house. They're like, "Hey, dummies, we know where you are." They're like, "Did you guys see anything last night?" "Oh, no." But we've been snorting coke all night. We're like a fucking bunch of owls.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's like your worst nightmare at 6 o'clock in the morning after a coke bender. The fucking cops knock on the door.
This is the worst. Hey, well, speaking of fitness, one of our favorite guys to listen to and one of your favorite guys is a guy named Rich Roll, who's a fitness podcaster. And here on Sober Shenanigans, we like to do a celebrity quote that ties into being sober because there's so many guys out there now that are expressing their gratefulness for being sober. Here's Rich Roll's quote, one of the good ones that we found. "The most powerful transformations arise from the most painful experiences. Sobriety isn't a limitation. It's the foundation of my freedom. When I got sober, I didn't just stop drinking. I started living. Addiction is a liar. It tells you you're broken, but the truth is you're powerful beyond measure. Getting sober was not the end of my journey. It was the beginning of my becoming. In the absence of distraction, I met myself, and that's when the real work began. Don't chase the high, chase your higher self." Bam.
So good.
Wow.
That guy's such a badass too.
He's levitating.
That's right.
Yeah,
he's right.
He doesn't walk anywhere. He just floats around.
Yeah, he's had some.
That's
his podcast.
That's high level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one Chris was mentioning finding a quote, and so I found one too. And one of the things that he talks about, and this is kind of, what my sponsor kind of redirects me to, I guess, is this idea of the spiritual growth coming at the point of challenging yourself. Like my sponsor's always like, maybe challenge like everything you think is wrong. Like if you're using that as the baseline, like I can't think that I know everything.
Yeah.
There's a group of knuckleheads that go to our meeting on Friday and they thump the book and they lecture and I get so resentful and they're, they're just bums, and it's like you think that you know everything, but I know that I don't. Like even I have a 13-year-old who's, my stepson, he's challenging. Like I don't know how to manage that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like for me to just, I think that they asked you how you do it. And I was like, I continue to think that I'm wrong. Like my default is like, I'm probably wrong about this. It happened yesterday with him. So the backstory is my son is newly living with us because we just bought a house.
Yeah.
And after all these years, he's finally with us because he was with my in-laws. And, it's a challenge. Like, a 13-year-old kid, he's got no discipline. It's the summer. And I was like a total dick to the kid yesterday, like the way that my old man used to be. And I felt terrible. But like my reflex is to get defensive. My wife's like, "What's wrong with you? Like, you're an asshole."
And I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, he hasn't left his house. He hasn't done anything since hitting lesson. And I'm like, I walked away. I was like, okay, like, you are an asshole. You know that you're an asshole. Like, that's how you've gotten here. And I was like, okay, let me just go up there and talk to this kid.
Yeah.
And I apologize. You know what I mean? That's like, you haven't lived until you made amends to like a 6-year-old girl or a 13-year-old boy. You know, like that's real humility. You know what I mean? But I was like, you know, and I could hear my old man, and it was like the way that I was raised, and I don't want him to feel the way that I felt. And I was like, dude, I'm still in this big, nice house with the, you know, nice cars and a pretty hot wife and money in the bank. Like, I'm still the dipshit that gets drunk before the game, right? Or whatever the thing is. Like, that's still so much a part of me. And that thing that Rich's role is like the constant unpacking of the old ways. And it's like the people that I respect seem to do that.
Yeah.
You know, I know that I don't know. I'm a fucking idiot. It's like, I don't know how to run my life, you know?
I don't know that you're an idiot. Do you have any advice for anybody that might be struggling out there today?
You know, that's like a tricky thing, because I think either you're going to get sober or you're not.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. I was at a meeting not too long ago, and a guy who was like 34 years was speaking at Fever on Saturday night. And he said, you can't convince anyone to get sober if they don't want to. But if someone wants to get sober, you can't talk them out of it.
Right.
Oh. And so, like, the guys that I work with, the guys that I sponsor, like, until that moment of surrender where it's like, I don't know, like, I need help, then, like, I can give you all the advice.
Yep.
Like hearing Chris in the meetings and knowing what his life is like inspired me. But if I wasn't broken enough to hear that, it doesn't matter. Like, if I'm not in that mindset in that meeting to listen to what another person has to say, it's just white noise. It's
Right.
like, hey, you guys are like, you know, that's not cool or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
But I mean, the advice would be like, if you can find a moment to take a serious self-appraisal, like, is the drinking and drugs doing good for you? Like, if you can find that moment, maybe there's a chance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, the advice is just to reach out for help. That's obvious. But, you know, I had moments of clarity for years. I just didn't know an out. Like, I didn't know there was a way out. But, like, just take a look at yourself. Like, is it fun anymore? You know what I mean? Like, are people pissed off when you're drunk? You know, like, if you can remove yourself from your self-centered thinking and try to look at it another way, like, maybe you can hear what we have to say.
Yeah.
Like, you're stoked about being sober. Primo's life is incredible. My life is incredible. I love it. I love being sober. And it's like, you can have anything you want.
Amen.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can literally do whatever you want to do. Like, but you have to become willing.
Yeah.
That's freedom.
100%. That's what
That
I
is.
was saying earlier. That's what it's about.
That's freedom.
That is. Well, listen, if you're having a tough time quitting, whatever it is that you know you need to quit, you're not alone. There's apps and numbers and groups in your town, or you can call us if you want. Leave us a message, 727-294-4933. Hit us up on Facebook. You know, taking that first step into a room or a chat or a group with people trying to get better just like you will be the best day of your life. Primo, what's your final point on today's show?
Oh man, we said a lot tonight. You know, it's pretty clear. We got to get out of our own goddamn way. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Get out of our way and live this thing called life, and stop letting the tail wag the dog. You know what I mean? It's time to do everything that you want to do in your life. You deserve it. You know, be it, do it.
That's why he gets the final point.
That's right.
Because he always says some little gem that's tucked behind his head
Nice.
that he only probably forgot that he knew. Well, Chris, thank you so much for coming on. It's been great talking to you and hearing your story. It's very enlightening. And listen, thanks for listening to Sober Shenanigans, real talk and real recovery. You know, worry, anxiety, and fear, it's all up in here. Give yourself a break. You're enough and you're doing great. I'm Stoff and he's Primo. And remember, no drinks today.
We're all in the same boat, fellas.
But our shenanigans are cheeky and fun.
Yeah, I mean, his shenanigans are cruel and tragic.
Which makes them not shenanigans at all, really.
Evil shenanigans.
I swear to God, I'll pistol whip the next guy that says shenanigans.
Shenanigans!